Hey guys, how's it going? Today we are going to be solving this type of equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 by factoring. And what we're going to end up doing, I don't know if you noticed this, but this is 4, 4. That means we are skipping 4, 3 because this is basically the level I need you to be at. You've done 4, 3 before. Let me show you what we're going to do first. We're going to factor that form, ax squared plus bx plus c. And that's the first step in solving the equations, is factoring this. And here's my example, 5x squared minus 17x plus 6. Okay, now before I do this, let me just show you that you already know how to do this stuff. I'll show you with a really quick example. You've done this before. If we're going to factor this, we always start off with two sets of parentheses. It's almost always going to be the same, okay? Now if you remember FOIL, working backwards, we know that the first two terms are going to multiply together to make this guy right here. X times x gives you x squared. And then the L from FOIL is the last two terms. These two right here, these last two terms need to multiply together to make the 4. So you could say 2 and 2. I'm going to go ahead and say 4 and 1, okay? Now watch this. This is how I factor problems. I take the inside terms. I always do the inside first because I'm doing FOIL backwards. Okay, so 4 times x is 4x, and I'm going to write it right here. And then I do the outside terms. X times 1 is 1x. And I ask myself, I'm trying to get 5 x's, right? Well, actually positive 5 x's. So what do the signs need to be for these guys? Well, if they're both positive, 4x plus 1x gives me 5x. So the plus goes right here, and this plus goes right here. And now it's factored, okay? And just to remind you, FOIL backwards, if I wanted to FOIL this, x plus 4, x plus 1, if I was to use FOIL, well, first x times x is x squared. That's the f, right? So x times x, that's the x squared. And then it's FOIL, right? F-O-I-L. So the O stands for outer, x times 1. That's x times 1. That's a positive x, okay? Then you have I, that's the inside, 4 times x. So that's 4 times x. That's 4x, that's a positive 4x. And then the L stands for last, 4 times 1. Okay, so that's 4 times 1, that's 4. So now you have a positive x squared. You have a positive x and a positive 4x. That gives you 5x, right? X squared. That's a positive 5x, and that's a positive 4. Okay, and that's what we started with right here. Okay, so that's just a recap. You've done this before. We're just going to do more challenging problems. So here we go. All right, here's the first example. We're going to do the exact same thing, FOIL in reverse. Okay, so start off with your parentheses. Okay, and let's do the first term. 5x squared. Okay, break that up into two parts. What times what gives you 5x squared? Well, you should say 5x times x. 5x times x gives you 5x squared. Okay, now the next part is a little trickier. We're going to look at the last term. Okay, the two last terms are going to multiply to make this 6. So there's a couple things we could do. I already see it. I'm going to let you think about it for a second. There are factors of 6, 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. Those both multiply to make 6. I'm going to be pretty strategic about this. Watch this. I'm going to put the 2 right here, and I'm going to put the 3 right here. Okay? So now doing FOIL in reverse, I'm going to do the I first. So the inside terms, 2 times x, that's 2x. And then 5x times 3, okay, that's 15x. Now I look above it, I'm trying to get negative 17x. I can do that if both of these are negative, okay? So the negative with the 2x, that goes here, and then this negative right here goes right here, okay? And it's factored all the way, okay? And then just one thing to do is double check. What is negative 2 times negative 3? That's positive 6. Check, we did it, okay? All right, again, if this is going too fast, just pause or rewind and watch it again. Let's do another example, okay? How about 12x squared, okay, minus 28x minus 24. All right, so we have, I don't know if you noticed this, but this is an even number, that's an even number, and that's an even number. When you get a case like that, I would always try to take out the biggest number you can. I know that 4 goes into 12, 28, and 24. So I'm going to factor out a 4. Watch this. I'm going to factor out a 4, and now I get, 3x squared minus 7x minus 6. Okay? And now I'm just going to keep that 4 there, but now I'm going to factor this guy. It makes it a lot easier, okay? So what times what gives me my 3x squared? Well, 3x times x, okay? What times what gives me 6? Well, there's a bunch of things. Don't be afraid, okay? Watch this. I'm going to try to make a mistake, okay? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to make a mistake. I'm just going to, the very first thing that I think of when I see a 6, I'm just going to put down a 6 and a 1, okay? Watch. I'm probably wrong, okay? Watch this. And I'm just showing you this so you know it's okay to be wrong. 6 times x is 6x, okay? 3x times 1 is 3x. If I take a 6x and a 3x, I get a 9x, but I'm trying to get 7, negative 7. So that doesn't work, okay? So watch this. I'm going to erase it. Do you see how I'm not stressed? That's how I want you to be. So next what you can do is move the 6 and the 1 around. You could put the 1 here and the 6 here, but that'll give me 18 and 1, that still doesn't give me 7. So now I'm going to try the 2 and the 3, okay? So I'll try the 2, I'll try the 3, okay? And again, I just wrote down what came to mind. I didn't stop and think, should I put the 3 here? Should I put the 2 here? I just said 2 and 3 and I put it down, okay? So watch this. The insides, 2 times x is 2x. The outsides, 3x times 3 is 9x, okay? Can I get a negative 7x? Yes, if the 9 is negative and the 2 is positive. Okay, and now the positive goes right here, the negative goes right here, and I'm done. It's factored completely. Okay? Keep in mind, it says we are going to solve this by factoring. Okay, all I'm doing first is factoring. I have not started solving yet, okay? I'm going to do one more thing really quick. I'm going to do B, factor, special patterns, okay? And the special pattern I'm going to focus on right now is difference of squares, okay? Difference of squares. All right, here's my first example. You'll recognize this. It's 9x squared minus 64. Okay? 9x squared minus 64. Now this is called a difference of squares because difference is subtraction, and squares, this is a perfect square, that's a perfect square, and that's a perfect square. This is the difference of two perfect squares, okay? Now, what's cool about the difference of squares is that they always factor like this. Always. Two sets of parentheses, okay? All right, what times what gives me 9x squared? 3x and 3x. We do it exactly like the problems up here. Exactly. Now let's look at the last term. What times what gives me 64? Well, 8 times 8, okay? And keep in mind, it is a negative, so it's got to be a positive 8 times a negative 8. That will give me the negative 64, okay? All right. So that's how you factor the difference of squares. We'll do one more, well, I don't think I have time for one more quick one. All right, so I'll do another one as an example, okay? All right, so here we go, part C. Solve, all right? I'm trying to keep an eye on time. We're at 8 minutes already. Here we go, solve. 3x squared plus 10x. Here we go. 3x squared plus 10x minus 8 equals 0. So what we're going to do, factor that guy right there. So I'm going to do my two binomials. Don't forget equals 0. Okay, so what times what gives me that? Well, that's 3x times x. Okay, what times what gives me 8? First thing I thought of is 4 and 2. Okay, but when I saw the 4, I figured, well, 3 times 4, okay, I'll put the 4 here, and I'll put the 2 here, because watch this. That's 2x. That's 12x. I'm trying to get 10x's, so that's a positive 12 minus a 2, okay? So the minus goes here, the positive goes here. And now I know that this times this equals 0. If this times this equals 0, then I know that either this equals 0 or that equals 0. So I'm just going to break it up. 3x minus 2 equals 0, and x plus 4 equals 0. This is where you write two equations, okay? And then I add the 2 to the other side, so 3x equals 2. Divide by 3, x equals 2/3. Okay, subtract the 4 to the other side, x equals negative 4. And we're done right there, okay? I'll do a difference of squares, one more. Here we go. How about 5x squared minus 45? This is a, well, yeah, we'll do it. 5x squared minus 45, okay? That's not a perfect square, neither is that. So this is how you're going to do it, okay? And I'm also going to put equals 0, okay? All right, so notice these two aren't perfect squares. So what you're going to do in this case is factor out a 5 in this case, okay? So this becomes 5, okay? And now what's left is an x squared minus 45. If I factor it out of 5, that's 9, okay, equals 0. And now look what we have, 5. This is now a difference of squares, so I factor it just like this, equals 0. Don't forget that equals 0. And now, what times what gives you x squared? X. What times what gives you 9? 3, okay? And what goes in the middle? 1 plus, 1 minus, okay? Now we have this times this equals 0. Remember, if something times something equals 0, then one of the things has to be 0, right? So either this has to be 0 or this has to be 0. This 5 doesn't matter because it's not 0, okay? So here we go. Just ignore the 5. Put x plus 3 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. You're not going to put 5 equals 0. That doesn't make any sense, right? Okay, so here we go. Subtract the 3, x equals negative 3. Add the 3, x equals 3. Okay, I have one more challenge for you guys. Here we go. D. Challenge. All right, here it is. 3x cubed. 3x cubed minus 5x squared minus 2x equals 0. And it's not that big of a challenge. Since we just did this, what did we do first on that? We factored out a 5 first. Look at this. We can't factor out a 3 or a 5 or a 2, but look at this. This has an x cubed, this has an x squared, and that has an x. We're supposed to be solving these problems, right, that have an x squared. So all these have an x in common that I'm going to take out to the front. So put an x here, and then I'm left with 3x squared minus 5x minus 2 equals 0. All I did was factor out the x to the front. Okay, and now I'll factor this guy. So keep the x there, and these go just like this. Okay, what times what gives you 3x squared? Well, we did it right there. It's 3x and x, okay. 2 times what gives you 2? Well, it's either 1 times 2 or 2 times 1. I'm just going to put a 1 times a 2, okay? All right, 1 times x is 1x. 3x times 2 is 6x. I'm trying to get a negative 5x, so it's got to be a negative 6 and a positive 1. So the positive goes here, the negative goes here. Just double check. What's 1 times negative 2? That's negative 2. We're good. So now let's do this and this and this. They all multiply together to make 0. So we know that x equals 0. We know that 3x plus 1 equals 0. And we know that x minus 2 equals 0. And this is already solved. This, subtract the 1, 3x equals negative 1. Divide by 3, x equals negative 1 over 3. Here, add the 2, x equals 2, and we're done. We have all our 3 answers. All right, guys? All right, good luck. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.